My name is Maya Torres. I'm 35 years old. 22 months ago, I loaded everything I owned into a rented U-Haul trailer, hooked it to the back of my Jeep, and drove 2,200 miles from Nashville, Tennessee to Seattle, Washington. I didn't call my mom. I didn't text my sister. I didn't say a single word to anyone in my family. I just left. I kept my phone number, the same one I'd had for 11 years. If anyone wanted to reach me, they could. The line was open. I wasn't hiding. I just stopped chasing. For 22 months, not one person in my family called. Not on my birthday. Not on Thanksgiving. Not on Christmas. Not once. Until my sister showed up at my empty Nashville apartment because she needed someone to watch her kids for the weekend. That's when my mother left 52 voicemails in 48 hours. Not one of them asked if I was okay. Every single one told me what a horrible, ungrateful daughter I was. I didn't call back. Instead, I mailed one package. And when they opened it, my family didn't come after me. They came after each other. Before I get into how all of this started, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment right now. Where are you watching from? What time is it there? I genuinely want to know. 'Cause this story, it's about to take some turns you didn't see coming. So stay with me. The night I became someone I never volunteered to be. Let me take you way back. It's a Tuesday night in my mother's kitchen. I'm 15 years old. My dad has been dead for 4 weeks. The house smells like reheated lasagna the neighbors dropped off, and a kind of sadness that lives in the walls now, no matter how much you try to clean it out. My mother, Gloria, is on the couch in the same worn-out robe she's had on for 3 days. My little sister Becca is 8 years old, standing in the kitchen doorway with her arms crossed over her stomach, her bottom lip doing that thing it does right before she starts crying. "I'm hungry," Becca says. I wait for Mom to move. She doesn't. She's staring at the television. It isn't even on. "Mom," Becca says louder. "I'm really hungry." Nothing. Not a twitch. Not a blink. I open the pantry. There's a box of macaroni and cheese. The store brand. I have never cooked anything on my own before. Not once. I'm 15 years old reading the back of a box trying to figure out how to boil water without burning the house down. The cheese packet tears the wrong way and orange powder gets on my shirt. I make 2 bowls. One for Becca. One for Mom. Becca eats at the kitchen table and tells me it's really good, which I know isn't true, but I love her for saying it. Mom takes her bowl without looking up from the couch. And then she says something I will carry in my chest for the next 20 years. Finally, someone's being useful around here. That was it. No thank you. No honey, are you doing okay? No acknowledgement that I was 15 years old, that I had just buried my father a month ago, and that I was standing in a kitchen trying to hold this broken house together with one box of cheap macaroni and cheese. I washed the pot. I washed the bowls. I wiped down the counter. The sponge smelled like mildew and old water. I made a mental note right there, standing at that sink with dish soap dripping off my hands. Buy a new sponge. I was 15 years old adding buy a new sponge to a running list in my head because no one else was going to do it. That night in that kitchen, I became the person who held my family together. I didn't raise my hand for the job. Nobody asked me. It just happened. And once something like that starts, you don't know how to stop. You don't even realize there's a stop button. Color-coded calendar that had no room for me. Fast forward 20 years. I'm 35. I live 15 minutes from my mother's house in a 1-bedroom apartment in Nashville that I pay for entirely on my own. I work as an operations manager at a mid-sized marketing agency called Hartwell Creative. I'm good at what I do. Really good. I'm the kind of person who has a system for everything because if I didn't have systems, my whole world would fall apart. But here's the thing nobody at work knows. I run a second job. One that pays me absolutely nothing. Every Sunday night, I open Google Calendar on my laptop. It's color-coded. It has always been color-coded. Blue is for Mom, her cardiology appointments twice a month because she says she can't keep track. Green is for my sister Becca's kids. I pick up Emma from school on Mondays and Wednesdays. Yellow is for Saturdays, all 3 kids, Emma, Jake, and little Sophie, so Becca and her husband Tyler can have their date night, which I have supported every single Saturday for 6 years without being asked once if I was free. Red is for the holidays. Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, every single birthday. I plan them. I cook for them. I buy the groceries. I arrange the decorations. I clean up afterward while everyone else moves to the living room and scrolls on their phones. I sit back and look at 3 months of calendar entries. Every single one has someone else's name attached to it. Not one belongs to me. I had plans to meet my college friend Denise for brunch 5 times that year. Cancelled all 5. 3 times because Becca texted me the morning of, "Hey, can you grab the kids today?" Tyler is out of town. Once because Mom had a bad day and needed me to come sit with her. Once because Jake threw up at preschool and Becca couldn't leave work. She didn't apologize. She just texted me the address. My phone buzzes. Text from Becca. "Can you do this Saturday and Sunday?" Tyler's in Memphis. I type sure. I hit send. She doesn't reply. Not a thank you. Not a "you're a lifesaver." Just the assumption that I'd say yes because I always say yes. I close the calendar and stare at the dark screen of my laptop. For the first time, a thought crosses my mind that I absolutely cannot unthink. When was the last time someone put my name on their calendar? The birthday that broke something inside me. April 10th. My 35th birthday. I wake up and check my phone. Nothing. I shower, get dressed, check again. Nothing. I drive to work and sit at my desk. Nothing at lunch. Not a text. Not a voicemail. Not even a Facebook birthday notification, but that's because I deactivated my account 4 months earlier. Guess what? Nobody noticed that either. After work, I stop at that little bakery on Elliston Place. I buy myself 1 slice of birthday cake. Lemon with buttercream frosting. I sit in my car in the parking lot and eat it with a plastic fork while the radio plays something I don't even hear. 7:45, my phone rings. Mom. My chest lifts. Just for half a second. Maybe she remembered. Maybe today is the day everything changes. "Maya, I need you to swing by Walgreens. My prescription's ready and they close at 9. I grip the steering wheel with one hand and the empty plate with the other. "Mom, it's my birthday today." A pause. Short. The kind of pause that isn't uncomfortable for her, just empty. Like the information meant nothing at all. "Oh. Happy birthday. Can you pick up the prescription?" I drove to Walgreens. I picked up her blood pressure medication. I dropped it at her door. She took the bag, said, "Thanks, hon," and closed the door before I could even step inside. She didn't invite me in. She didn't offer a piece of cake. She didn't say another word about my birthday. I sat in her driveway for 4 minutes. Engine running. Headlights pointed at the garage. I didn't cry. I've never been much of a crier. But something inside me, some cable that had been holding up weight for 20 years, I heard it snap. Quietly. Like a thread pulled too tight for too long finally giving way. When I got home, I opened my laptop at 11:30 that night and typed apartment Seattle into the search bar. I'd never even thought about Seattle before that moment. But it was 2,200 miles from that driveway. And right then, that sounded exactly right. 178 messages. The experiment that gave me my answer. Now I'm not impulsive. I'm an operations manager. I plan. I measure twice and cut once. So before I packed a single box, I ran an experiment. Starting the very next morning, I changed one thing. Instead of waiting for people to need me, I reached out first. Not with tasks, not with logistics, just as a person. Just to talk. Just to connect. April 11th. I texted Mom. Hey, wanna grab lunch Saturday? Just us, no agenda. No reply. April 18th. I texted Becca. Hey, how are you doing? We haven't just talked in forever. Becca wrote back, crazy busy'll. Kids are a lotterin'. Then nothing. Not a question back. Not a how are you? Just silence. April 25th. I texted Tyler. How's that new account going at work? Hope it's going well. He saw it. Blue check mark. No response. I kept going. May. June. July. August. September. I reached out to each of them week after week. Want to see that new movie everyone's talking about? How's Emma's dance recital coming along? Mom, I tried your tamale recipe. Want to come over and taste it? Becca, I miss you. Can we do something just the two of us? I screenshotted every single one. Not because I had a plan yet. I just needed proof for myself. I needed to know I wasn't going crazy. I needed evidence that I was reaching and my hand kept closing around nothing but air. By the end of September, I counted them. 178 messages sent. 12 replies. All short. All logistical. Not one asking how I was. 166 messages ignored. I sat on the edge of my bed with my laptop open to a job listing in Seattle. Operations coordinator at a mid-sized tech consulting firm called Bridgepoint Solutions. Same salary, better benefits, and a relocation bonus. Start date November 15th. I stared at those 166 ignored messages. Then I stared at the job application. It took 25 minutes to fill out. I submitted it before I could talk myself out of it. The drive that changed my life. October came. The offer came through. I accepted. I gave 3 weeks' notice at Hartwell Creative. My boss, Renee, sat across the desk and said, Seattle doesn't know how lucky they're getting. 5 words. Genuine. Real. More acknowledgement than my family had given me in years. I had to look out the window for a second to keep myself together. I packed in the evenings after work. Boxes stacked in the living room. Furniture sold on Facebook Marketplace to strangers who showed up with pickup trucks and exact change. I set up mail forwarding. Deactivated my social media. And I specifically, intentionally did not change my phone number. Same number I'd had for 11 years. If anyone in my family wanted to find me, they could. The line was open. I just stopped chasing. The last night in Nashville, I drove past my mom's house. The lights were on. I could see the glow of the TV through the living room curtains. I could have stopped. I could have knocked on that door and said goodbye. I kept driving. November 12th, a Tuesday. I hooked the U-Haul trailer to my Jeep and pulled out before sunrise. Tennessee, Kentucky, Missouri, Kansas, Colorado, Utah, Idaho. 4.5 days of open highway and gas station coffee and rest stop naps in the back seat with a pillow against the window. Somewhere in the middle of Montana, with nothing but flat land and massive sky in every direction, I rolled the windows all the way down and screamed. Not words. Just sound. Into the cold air, into the wind, into all that empty space. I screamed until my throat hurt and then I laughed at myself, alone in my car at 70 miles an hour, because it felt absolutely incredible. Like something physical leaving my body. November 15th, Seattle. It was raining, which I'd been warned about. I parked in front of my new apartment in the Fremont neighborhood, with a bay window and a red Japanese maple in the front yard. I sat in my Jeep and just breathed. Slow in, slow out. No phone buzzing. No calendar alerts. No one needing anything from me. I didn't slam a door. I just stopped holding one open. 22 months of silence, and what I built inside it. Month 1. I checked my phone every single morning out of habit. Nothing from Tennessee. I told myself it was early. Maybe they were busy. Month 2. Thanksgiving. I sat alone in my new apartment with a rotisserie chicken from the grocery store and a can of cranberry sauce. My phone stayed silent. No one texted to ask where I was. No one called to wonder why the chair was empty. And then I realized I was the one who organized Thanksgiving every single year. Without me, there was no table to sit around. And nobody thought to ask why. Month 3. I met Priya Nair. She was a senior designer at Bridgepoint Solutions, 36 years old, originally from Austin, sharp as a tack and genuinely funny. On my second week, she stopped by my workstation with 2 cups of coffee and said, "I got you one. Milk and sugar, or are you a black coffee person? How was your weekend?" I opened my mouth to answer and I almost lost it right there. Not because the question was heavy. 'Cause no one had asked me that in years and actually waited around for the answer. Priya stood there, coffee in hand, genuinely looking at me like my answer mattered. Month 4. Priya and I started doing weekend things together. She introduced me to her friend group. They were warm and genuinely curious about each other's lives. One night at a potluck, someone asked me what kind of music I liked and I just sat there for an embarrassing second because I genuinely didn't know. I'd spent so many years running someone else's life that I'd never had time to figure out my own. Month 5. I started therapy for the very first time in my life. My therapist's name was Dr. Anita Webb. She was calm, direct, and she never let me off the hook. One of the first things she asked me to do was write 2 things. What would my life look like in 5 years if I'd stayed in Nashville, and what does it look like now? If I'd stayed, I'd still be driving Mom to her cardiology appointments twice a month while she complained about the wait times. I'd still be picking up Emma and Jake from school while Becca texted me the wrong dismissal time. I'd still be babysitting all 3 kids every single Saturday so someone else could have a marriage. I'd be 37, then 40, then 45, with a calendar full of other people's names and a career that never moved because I was always the one calling in favors to leave early. I would have lost my 30s. I was already losing them. Then she asked me to write what my life looks like now. I'd been promoted. For months into the job, my manager Helen Rodriguez called me into her office and I genuinely thought I was in trouble. She said, "We're creating a senior operations director role. I want you for it." I stared at her. She said, "You're the most organized, most reliable person I've brought on this team in a decade." I didn't tell her I'd had 20 years of practice managing a family that never once said thank you. On weekends I hike with Priya. I signed up for a painting class on Thursday nights at a little studio near my apartment. I cook real meals for myself. Not frozen stuff eaten standing over the sink at 11 p.m., actual meals at an actual table where I sit down and eat without my phone in my hand. My calendar has my name on it. Every single color. Every single entry. Call they made and what happened on their end. Then came the night that set everything in motion. My sister Becca needed a babysitter. Her husband Tyler was in Memphis for a 5-day financial planning conference. She wanted a girls' spa weekend with her friends, 2 nights, Friday to Sunday. She called the one number she'd always dialed for free childcare. Mine. It rang and rang. She texted me, "Hey, need you this weekend. Call me." The message delivered. But I was in the middle of a painting class in Seattle with actual paint on my hands and my phone on silent in my bag. Becca tried again Saturday morning. Voicemail. She hates voicemail, so she didn't leave one. Instead, she drove to my apartment. In Nashville. The one I hadn't lived in for 22 months. She parked outside, walked up the stairs, knocked. Nothing. She knocked harder. The woman in the apartment across the hall, a retired school librarian named Mrs. Henderson who'd been in that building for 9 years, opened her door. "You looking for the girl in 3B?" My sister, Maya. Mrs. Henderson looked at Becca with an expression somewhere between pity and confusion. Oh, sweetie. She moved out a long, long time ago. Over a year and a half at least. Packed up a trailer one morning and left. Gave me her basil plant to take care of. Never did say where she was going. Now here's the part one need you to pay close attention to. Becca's first reaction was not concern. She didn't ask Mrs. Henderson, did she seem okay before she left? She didn't say, oh my God, is she safe? She didn't ask anything about me at all. She pulled out her phone, called our mother, and said, did you know Maya moved away? 22 months. Nobody called. Nobody visited. Nobody drove 15 minutes across town to check on me. Not once. Not until someone needed something from me. And even then, standing in front of my empty apartment, the first question wasn't about me. Now let me introduce you to someone who plays a quiet but important role in what happens next. Marcus. He's Tyler's older brother, 38, a high school history teacher in Nashville, the kind of man who watches a room carefully before he says anything. He happened to be at Becca and Tyler's house that same weekend helping fix a broken water heater. He was right there when Becca came home from my empty apartment, thrown off and visibly flustered. He sat at the kitchen counter and listened as Becca called our mother and the whole spiral began. Marcus didn't say anything right away. But he thought about something. About a year earlier, I had texted him out of the blue just a short message. Hey Marcus, hope the school year's going well. You doing okay? He had meant to reply. Life got busy. He never did. He thought about that a lot in the days that followed. 52 voicemails. 0 questions about whether I was okay. My mother, Gloria Torres, does not handle surprises gracefully. She handles them the way she handles everything, by making them about herself. Within an hour of Becca's call, Gloria picked up her phone and dialed my number. The number that had been sitting in her contacts for 11 years. The number she could have dialed on my birthday, on Thanksgiving, on any random Tuesday afternoon just to say hi. It rang. I was on my couch in Seattle reading. I saw her name. I watched it ring until it stopped. She called again. And again. And then the voicemails started. Number 1. Maya, where on earth are you? Call me back right now. Number 8. How dare you leave without telling your mother? Number 16. You are the most selfish person I have ever raised in my entire life. Number 25. Your father would be heartbroken if he could see you right now. Number 36. I am telling everyone what kind of daughter you really are. Number 44. After everything I gave up for you. Number 52. If you don't call me back, you are dead to this family. 52 voicemails between Friday evening and Sunday afternoon. I listened to every single one. I took notes. Not for anyone else, just for myself. I wrote down what she said, message by message. And I noticed something. Not one voicemail asked if I was safe. Not one said, I'm worried about you. Not one of those 52 messages contained the words, are you okay? Every single one was about her, what I did to her, what I owed her, how I'd embarrassed her. How dare I? I set the phone down. 52 messages. 0 concern for me. Meanwhile, Becca was doing what Becca does when things don't go her way. She controlled the narrative. She posted on Instagram that Sunday night. She couldn't tag me since I deleted my profile months before leaving Nashville. But she wrote, going through something really hard. When family abandons you and your children without so much as a goodbye, you find out real fast who actually loves you. Hold your people close. Hundreds of reactions. Comments pouring in. Oh no, what happened? Who does something like that? You're so strong for your babies. Nobody asked for my side. Nobody wondered if maybe, just maybe, there was more to the story. Becca also called our Aunt Rosa. Rosa is my mom's younger sister, 58 years old, lives in Richmond, Virginia, always been the sharp one in the family. She had a falling out with my mom years earlier over something Gloria had never fully acknowledged. Aunt Rosa, Becca said, Maya just vanished. She abandoned Mom and my kids. Nobody knows where she is. Rosa was quiet for a moment, long enough that Becca got uncomfortable. Becca, she finally said, when's the last time you called Maya? Not to ask for something, just to talk. Silence. In the past 2 years, did you ever just call her to see how she was doing? Becca hung up. Rosa called me that evening. She has my Seattle address. I mailed her a card from here last Christmas. She's the only one I trusted with it. They found out, she said. I figured. They're not worried about you, baby. They're angry at you. I know. What are you going to do? I looked at the folder on my kitchen table. I haven't fully decided yet, I said. But I think I have. Then there's Tyler. He's not cruel, just absent. Kind of man who follows his wife's lead and keeps his head down. But that Sunday night, after the calls and the Instagram post and the chaos, Tyler sat alone at the kitchen table after Becca went to bed. He opened his phone. He scrolled way back through his messages until he found 3 texts I'd sent him months apart. Hey Tyler, how's that new client going? Hope it's been a good week. Hope Memphis treated you well. Happy Father's Day. The kids are lucky to have you. He had seen all 3. Blue check marks. He had read them and never responded to a single one. Tyler stared at those 3 messages for a very long time. Then he sat in his quiet kitchen at midnight with that feeling that isn't quite guilt, but is definitely its next-door neighbor. The folder. The box. The truth. On my kitchen table in Seattle, I opened that folder for the first time since the move. 178 messages. Printed on plain white paper. Organized the way I organize everything at work, by recipient then by date. 3 sections with color-coded dividers. Tab 1, Messages to Mom. 83 entries. Highlighted in 3 colors. Yellow for check-ins. How are you feeling today? Did your blood pressure run high again? Pink for invitations. Wanna grab lunch Saturday? Just us. Blue for personal moments. Mom, I made your chicken and rice recipe tonight. Wish you were here. Next to each message, a small notation in my handwriting. No reply. Seen no response. Read receipt no answer. Tab 2 Messages to Becca. 72 entries. Same system. How's Jake's ear? Did the antibiotics kick in? Wanna take the kids to Cheekwood this weekend? I miss you. Can we get coffee? Just us. 72 attempts. 64 ignored. Tab 3 Messages to Tyler. 23 entries. All seen. All unanswered. The bottom of each section a simple summary. Total sent. Total replied. Response rate. Mom 5%. Becca 11%. Tyler 0%. I didn't add a single word of commentary. I didn't write an essay about my feelings. I didn't attach a guilt trip or a demand or a list of grievances. I placed 1 sheet of paper on top of everything, white page, black ink, 1 sentence. I tried 178 times. Here they are. I slid the folder into a medium cardboard box. I wrote my mother's Nashville address on the front. No return name, just a Seattle, Washington return address. I sealed it with packing tape and set it on the shelf by my front door. I wasn't sending it yet. I was waiting for the right moment. And that moment had a date. The setup and the day I mailed the truth. Rosa called me on a Thursday morning. She sounded tired in the way people sound when they've been listening to too much drama for too long. Your mother is planning Sophie's birthday party, she said. April 14th, Saturday afternoon. She's invited the whole neighborhood, Rosa continued. Tyler's parents, Becca's mommy group friends, the pastor and his wife from church. She wants an audience, Maya. She's planning to stand up in front of everyone and give a little speech about how you abandoned the family. I sat down on the edge of my bed. She's staging it, I said. She wants to be the victim with witnesses. Rosa paused. When exactly are you going to mail it? I did the math. USPS priority mail from Seattle to Nashville, 2 to 4 business days. If I mailed it on April 10th, a Tuesday, it would arrive Thursday or Friday. Maybe Saturday morning. Are you going to go to the party? Rosa asked. No, I said. But I'm going to respond. Tuesday, April 10th. My 35th birthday. Nobody called. I'm not even saying that with sadness anymore. That part had moved out of my chest a long time ago. I drove to the post office on Capitol Hill. The line was short. 3 people ahead of me. I held the box under my arm. It was lighter than you'd think, just paper. Truth is surprisingly light once you stop carrying it alone. Postal clerk was a guy in his 50s with a thick gray beard. He weighed the box, typed in the zip code. Priority mail. Should arrive Thursday, Friday at the latest. Possibly Saturday morning. Saturday morning works, I said. Anything fragile in here? I looked at the box. No. Nothing fragile. Just the truth. He printed the label. I paid. He placed it on the conveyor belt. And just like that, it was gone, moving through the system, zip code to zip code, Seattle to Nashville, from the person who tried to the people who didn't notice. I walked back to my car. For once, it wasn't raining. My phone buzzed. Priya, happy birthday. My place tonight. I'm making butter chicken and you're not allowed to say no. I smiled so wide a stranger on the sidewalk smiled back at me. Someone who'd known me 18 months remembered what my family forgot 2 years running. That night we ate on Priya's balcony with a space heater and a string of lights and a bottle of decent wine. We talked about a hiking trail, about a funny moment at work, about nothing and everything. It was the best birthday I'd had since I was maybe 12 years old. At home later, I checked the tracking number. In transit. Estimated delivery, April 13th. I closed the app. I slept straight through the night. Saturday, April 14th, Nashville, Tennessee, the moment everything shifted. I'm not there. But I know that house like I know my own hands. Today, that kitchen is decorated for little Sophie's 2nd birthday. Pink balloons. A unicorn tablecloth. A store-bought sheet cake from Publix because nobody knew which bakery I always called, and honestly, nobody had thought to ask. The house is full. Tyler's parents, Frank and Diane Caldwell, sit in the living room. 3 of Becca's friends from her mommy group cluster around the kitchen island with mimosas. Pastor Leonard and his wife Carol are near the back door holding paper plates. Marcus, Tyler's older brother, stands near the bookshelf, quietly watching the room the way he always does. Becca moves through the space managing 3 kids and a party she organized entirely by herself for the first time. Playlist is wrong. The napkins don't match the plates. She keeps catching herself thinking Maya would have had this handled by Wednesday. And the thought makes her jaw tighten because she doesn't know what to do with it. Tyler stands by the patio door, watching the kids chase each other in the yard. He hasn't said much all morning. His father Frank keeps looking at him sideways. And Gloria, my mother, is positioned in the center of the living room like someone about to give a TED Talk. Hair done. Lipstick. Her nice blouse. She has been waiting for this room. On the entryway table, between a basket of keys and a framed family photo from 2018, sits a cardboard box. Return address, Seattle, Washington. Nobody's touched it yet. Cake is cut. Sophie gets frosting all over her face and squeals. Everyone laughs and takes photos. And then Gloria raises her glass of sweet tea and taps it with a spoon. Before we get into presents, she says, I want to say something. The room goes quiet. Becca freezes near the counter. Tyler looks at the floor. Marcus crosses his arms and watches. As some of you know, my older daughter Maya made a choice to leave this family without a single word. She moved away and has not contacted any of us in almost 2 years. I raised that girl. I gave her everything I had. And she chose to walk away from her mother, her sister, and these 3 beautiful children who love her. No explanation. No goodbye. She paused to let that land. But we are still a family. And that's what real love looks like, showing up. Not running away. Scattered applause. One of Becca's friends rubbed Becca's arm. You're so strong, Mama. Nobody in that room had heard my side. Not one person had questioned why I left. Then Frank Caldwell, Tyler's father, 69 years old, retired plumber, man of about 12 words a day and every one of them counts, pointed at the entryway table. Gloria, there's a package. Says Seattle on the return address. Every single head in the room turned. Gloria walked to the table. She picked up the box with both hands. Turned it over. No name on the return, just Seattle. Her face did something complicated. She carried it back to the dining table and slid her thumbnail under the packing tape. Inside a folder. Thick. Color-tabbed. Organized with a precision that was immediately recognizable as mine. Top of everything, one sheet of white paper. Gloria picked it up. She read it aloud, maybe out of instinct, maybe because she still had an audience and didn't know yet what she was holding. I tried 178 times. Here they are. She stared at the page. Flipped it over. Blank on the back. She opened the first tab and started reading. Her face drained slowly, like watching a tide go out. Her hand began to tremble. Mom, what is it? Becca reached over and pulled the second tab toward her. She opened it to her own name at the top of the first page. A screenshot of a text message from 11 months earlier, highlighted in pink notation in my handwriting. Hey, I miss you. Can we do something just us this week? No reply. Page after page. Her name on every single one. 72 messages. The room was dead silent. Frank Caldwell reached across and picked up the third tab. Tyler's section. 23 messages. All seen. All unanswered. He read one. He looked at his son. Tyler would not meet his eyes. Marcus in the corner had gone very still. He was reading over Frank's shoulder. He found the message I'd sent him, the one he never answered. It wasn't in the folder. It was just in his memory. But he felt it exactly the same. A woman named Barbara, a church member who'd known our family for 15 years, was the first to speak. She looked at the page in her hand and then at my mother. Gloria, she said carefully. She texted you 83 times. Gloria's mouth opened. Nothing came out. 83 times, Barbara repeated. Not loud. Not accusatory. Just flat and factual, which was somehow so much worse. And you just stood up in front of this room and said she left without a word. Diane Caldwell was reading Tyler's section. She looked up at her son with an expression I'm told he will not forget. You saw these? You read 23 messages from someone in this family asking how you were doing, and you said nothing? Pastor Leonard set his plate down. He looked at Carol. They stood up quietly. Thank you for the party, he said gently. We're going to head out. They picked up their jackets and walked out without drama, without a scene, just the quiet of people who'd heard enough. 2 of Becca's friends followed. The room emptied in that slow, deliberate way people leave when they don't want to be part of what comes next. Becca's face turned red. This is what she does, she said to whoever was still listening. She manipulates. She planned this whole thing, but the room wasn't listening anymore. The folder sat open on the dining table, pages fanned out, dates and highlights and notations, and 178 messages with timestamps. There was no version of this story where I was the villain. Not anymore. The family that came apart at the seams. The guests left. Sophie was asleep in Tyler's arms. Emma and Jake were in the backyard, completely unbothered. The adults stood in the dining room around the open folder like it was the scene of something that couldn't be unseen. Gloria turned and pointed at Becca. "You are her sister. You live 15 minutes away. How did you not know she was gone?" Becca's eyes went wide. "Me? Are you serious? You're her mother. You live 15 minutes from her apartment and you didn't notice for 22 months. I have my health to manage. Maya managed your health. Maya drove you to every appointment. Maya picked up your prescriptions. You just let her." Becca had never spoken to Gloria like that. Not in 28 years. Frank looked at Tyler. Low voice. "Son, you read those messages." Tyler said nothing. "You saw her reaching out, and you looked the other way." "Dad, everybody in this room ignored her messages. You didn't call her either." Marcus stepped in from the hallway where he'd been standing with a glass of water. "She texted me too," he said quietly. "About a year ago. Just checking in. I saw it. I meant to reply. I didn't." He set his glass down. "I don't know why I'm saying this except that someone should." Nobody had an answer for that. "She wasn't asking for anything," Marcus said. "That's what I keep thinking about. She was just trying to talk to people." The room had nothing to say to that. Back in Seattle, I was on Priya's couch watching a documentary about deep-sea creatures, something calm and blue and far away from Tennessee. My phone buzzed on the coffee table. Tennessee area code. Mom. Then Becca. Then Mom again. 5 times in under 3 minutes. Priya glanced over. "You okay?" "Yeah. Just family stuff." She handed me the popcorn and didn't push. That's the thing about Priya. She trusts me to share when I'm ready. I put the phone face down. Later that night, I checked the voicemails. "Mom. Maya, how could you send that to my house in front of everyone I know? You humiliated me on Sophie's birthday. Till not, are you safe? Till not, I miss you. Just how dare you? Becca, I can't believe you did this. Tyler's parents are barely looking at us. His dad sat in the car for 20 minutes before they left. Is this what you wanted? Am I happy? No. I'm not happy. I want to be real clear about that. I wasn't celebrating. I didn't send that folder to hurt them. I sent it because I had tried for 6 months to have a conversation and no one would talk to me. I sent it because my mother stood up in a room full of people and called me ungrateful, and the only way I could answer was to show them what I actually did. I sent them a mirror. That's all it was. And when they looked into it, they didn't see a monster. They saw themselves. When the truth spread through town, the word spread the way it always does in close communities, not through announcements but through the soft voices of people who say, I probably shouldn't say anything, but... Barbara from the party talked to women in the prayer group. Pastor's wife Carol mentioned it carefully. By the following Sunday, people at Gloria's church had heard some version of the story. And the version that stuck wasn't Maya abandoned her family. The version that stuck was her daughter sent over 150 messages and nobody answered, and she moved across the country and they didn't notice for almost 2 years. That version stuck because it was true. Gloria felt it before anyone said it to her face. The way conversations shifted when she walked into a room. The way Barbara called to say they were restructuring leadership and her role was temporarily on hold. The way her morning walking partner Sylvie waved from across the street but didn't cross over. She called Rosa in desperation. You have to help me. Talk to Maya. Tell her to call. Rosa's voice was flat. Gloria, I told you 15 years ago that you treat your children like they work for you. I said it then and you stopped speaking to me for 4 years. I'm not getting in the middle of something I already warned you about. But everyone is. They're not seeing you as a monster, Rosa said. They're just seeing you clearly. Maybe for the first time. Click. Gloria sat alone in her house. TV was off. The phone was quiet. Nobody was coming over. Nobody was calling. She sat in that silence and felt something unfamiliar crawl up her chest. That's what my life felt like for years, Mom. Welcome to it. Package fractured Becca's world too. Tyler started saying things out loud at night after the kids went to bed. You used your sister, Becca. We both did. She'd walk out of the room before the truth could catch up. But the truth was already in the room. It had been there since the folder opened. At her mommy group the following week, one of the women said casually over the snack table, "Is it true your sister sent like 200 texts and nobody answered?" Becca froze. It's complicated. The woman tilted her head. 200 texts isn't complicated, Becca. That's someone begging to be seen. The room was quiet. Nobody argued. Becca left early. At home, she picked up all the slack for the first time in years. School lunches, soccer practice, dentist appointments, grocery runs, bedtime meltdowns. All of it every day alone. And at 11 on a Wednesday night, kids asleep, house quiet, Becca sat on the kitchen floor with her phone and scrolled back to a text I'd sent her last October. "Hey, just checking on you. You seemed tired last time I saw you." She stared at it for a long time. And for the first time, she got it. Calls that actually meant something. 3 weeks after the party, my phone rang. Tyler. I let it ring twice. Then I answered. Neither of us said anything for a few seconds. I waited. He called me. He goes first. "I'm not calling because Becca told me to," he said. "She doesn't even know I'm doing this." Okay. My dad showed me those messages at the party. I'd already seen the texts you sent me directly, but reading them all together in order with the dates, I couldn't sleep right for 5 days. I didn't rush to fill the silence. Silence is the most honest space in a conversation. People say what they really mean when you stop talking first. "You asked how my conference went," Tyler said. "You sent me a Father's Day message. You were just trying to connect. And I read every single one and did nothing. I don't have an excuse for that. Thank you for saying that, Tyler. The kids miss you. Emma drew you a picture last week. A house with a big purple tree." My chest tightened. I miss them too. But I'm not coming back to fix what isn't mine to fix. I know. If we're going to have any kind of relationship, it's because we choose it, not because someone needs free Saturday babysitting. That's fair. And I need you to pass that message along. My exact words, not Becca's version. I will. Before he hung up, he added, "Becca and your mom aren't speaking right now." "That's between them," I said. And I meant it. That job was over. A week after Tyler's call, Mom left a different kind of voicemail. "Maya." A long pause. Breathing. I sat at the kitchen table last night with that folder and I read through all of it. Every page. Her voice was thinner than I'd ever heard it. No edge. No performance. Just tired. "I thought you were sending logistics. Reminders. I didn't realize you were actually reaching out. Actually trying to reach me." Another pause. "There's one from March of last year. You wrote, 'Mom, I made your chicken and rice tonight. Made me think of you. Wish you were here.' And I never answered that. You made my recipe and you wanted to share that with me and I didn't say a word back." Silence. Then, barely above a whisper, "I'm not going to say I was wrong because I honestly don't know how to say that. I was never taught how. But I saw it, Maya. I saw all of it. I played it back 3 times. I listened for the performance, the Gloria show where every conversation becomes a monologue about her own suffering. I didn't hear it this time. This time she sounded like a 63-year-old woman sitting alone at a table with 178 pages of proof that her daughter loved her and she hadn't looked up. I didn't call back. But I opened my journal and wrote one line. First message that sounds like a person instead of a warden. Becca called on a Thursday. I answered out of curiosity about which version of herself she'd bring. I don't understand why you had to do it like that. No hello. Which part? All of it. Package. Party. All of it. Becca, I sent you 72 messages over 6 months. Not one of them asked you for anything. Not babysitting, not rides, not favors. I was just trying to talk to my sister. She was crying now. Quiet kind. The involuntary kind. Kind that comes when you hear something you can't argue with. I know you have 3 kids, I said. I know how exhausted you are. I was there for 7 years. I picked up Emma every Monday and Wednesday, watched all 3 kids every Saturday, planned every birthday, held Jake when he had colic so you could sleep. I know exactly how hard it is because I was right there doing it with you. I love your kids. But I am not your backup plan anymore. If you want a real relationship with me, it starts with seeing me as a person, not a service. Silence. Then, Mom says this is all your fault. And what do you say? A long pause. She hung up. That night I sat at my kitchen table and wrote an email. To 3 addresses: Gloria Torres, Rebecca Caldwell, Tyler Caldwell. Subject: where I stand. 5 points. 1. I am safe. I am healthy. I live in Seattle, Washington, and I have built a good life here. 2. I left because nobody in this family saw me as a person. I was a function, a babysitter, a driver, a planner, a mediator. When the function stopped, no one noticed the person was gone. That told me everything I needed to know. 3. I am open to rebuilding, but not on the old terms. For my conditions are simple. No guilt trips. No voicemails about what I owe anyone. No using the kids as leverage. No social media posts about me. If any of these are violated, I will extend no contact as long as I need to. 5. I love you. That's why I tried 178 times before I left. But love without respect isn't love. It's a job. And I quit. I read it over once. I didn't soften a single word. I've spent 35 years cushioning every sentence to make other people comfortable. This email was for me. I hit send, put on my rain jacket, and went for a walk in the Seattle night. 6 months later, where everyone stands. Tubber. Seattle. The rain is back. I've made my peace with it. Mom started seeing a therapist. Not her idea, but Pastor Leonard suggested it, and she respects him enough to actually go. She sent me one email 4 months ago. Short. No guilt. No lecture. Just, I'm working on some things. I'm not very good at this yet. But I'm trying. I read it twice. I saved it. I haven't replied yet. But I'm not against it. Becca and I haven't spoken since the phone call where she hung up. But through Tyler I hear things. She hired an actual babysitter. She pays someone now. She manages her own calendar, drives herself to her own appointments, handles the grocery runs. Tyler says it's the hardest adjustment she's ever made. I believe him. Learning at 28 what should have been happening all along is genuinely difficult. I give her that. Tyler has become the quiet bridge. Every couple of weeks, no pressure, no expectations, he sends me something. A photo of Emma at her school art show. A video of Jake finally riding his bike without training wheels. A note saying, Sophie asked about you today. I write back now. Short replies, but real ones. It's not a door flung open. It's a window cracked an inch. That's enough for now. Marcus texted me about a month after everything and apologized for not replying to my message. No excuses, just I'm sorry. I told him it was okay and I meant it. We've texted a few times since. He's a good person. Gloria and Becca are talking again barely. They see each other at the kids' school pickups and keep it civil. The easy dynamic is gone, the one where Gloria commanded and Becca obeyed and I held everything together in the middle. Without the middle piece, they don't quite know how to talk to each other. They're learning. The recipe and the 2 words worth 20 years. A Thursday evening in late October. I'm standing in my kitchen in Seattle and the whole apartment smells like home. Or what home should have smelled like. My mom's chicken and rice recipe. The one she got from her mother, who got it from hers, written on a yellowed index card in slanted handwriting with a coffee ring stain in the corner. I photographed that card on my phone years ago. I've made it maybe a dozen times since moving here. Tonight it's low and slow in the Dutch oven with garlic and thyme and a splash of white wine. Priya comes over. She walks in and stops in the doorway. Maya. Smells incredible in here. What is that? My mom's recipe, I say. Simple. No edge on it. She taught you well. She doesn't know the whole story. She opens the wine she brought and sets the table. 2 place settings, 2 glasses, 2 cloth napkins she found at a thrift store last month. We sit down. We eat. She says, "This is honestly the best thing I've ever eaten in someone's home." And she means every word. Through dinner, I do the dishes. Warm water, a clean sponge, the quiet sound of the city outside. And for just a moment, I'm 15 again, standing at a sink in my mother's kitchen. Same posture, same motion. But everything else is different. The house is mine. The meal was my choice. And when I turn around, there's someone sitting at the table who says, "That was amazing. Thank you." 2 words. I waited 20 years to hear them said like they meant it. Later that night, I pick up my phone. I type a message to my mother, "Mom, I made your chicken and rice tonight. It turned out really good." I stare at it for 30 seconds. My thumb hovers. I press send. For minutes later, a reply. "I'm so glad, sweetheart." That's it. No guilt. No lecture. No, "When are you coming home?" Just warmth, small, uncertain, imperfect warmth. Maybe that's where things start. Maybe that's where they stay for a while. Either way, I'm okay tonight. What I need you to hear. I didn't leave my family to punish them. I need you to know that. I left because I needed to find out if I existed outside of what I did for people. I needed to answer one question. Would anyone notice if I stopped showing up? Would anyone check? Would anyone call? The answer took 22 months. Not one phone call. Not one birthday text. Not one knock on a door that was 15 minutes away. That was my answer. And it hurt. I won't pretend otherwise. It was one of the loneliest confirmations I've ever had, to discover that the people you loved most saw you primarily as something useful. But it was clear. And a clear answer that hurts is worth more than a comfortable lie that keeps you trapped. Package wasn't revenge. I didn't write a single angry word in it. I didn't add commentary or accusations or a list of grievances. I just printed what I'd already sent, 178 messages they'd already received, and sent it back. A mirror. That's all it was. And when they looked into it, they didn't see a villain. They saw themselves. The family didn't break because of me. Broke because of what they did when they thought no one was watching. Package just turned the lights on. If you are the person in your family who plans every holiday, remembers every birthday, drives every appointment, mediates every fight, and picks up the phone every single time it rings because you're afraid of what happens if you don't, I need you to hear this. Your value is not measured by how useful you are. You are not a function. You are not a service. You are a person. And if the people around you cannot tell the difference, that is not your problem to fix. Set your limits, even if they call you selfish. Especially if they call you selfish. Because the people who call you selfish for having needs are almost always the ones who benefited most from you having none. My name is Maya Torres. I'm 35 years old. I live in Seattle, Washington. I have a career I've earned, a friend who remembered my birthday, and a kitchen that smells like the recipe I'm finally allowed to make just for myself. And for the first time in my adult life, if I disappeared, somebody would notice. Not because I'm useful, 'cause I'm loved. That's my story. If any part of this hit close to home, drop a comment below. Are you the Maya in your family? Or did this story make you realize there's someone in your life you've been overlooking? Either way, I want to hear from you. If you're new here, subscribe and check the description for more stories like this one. And remember, your silence doesn't mean you're okay. Sometimes it just means nobody thought to ask. Thank you for listening.